Bulavinaka, and thank you so much for joining us today for this wonderful Talanoa with these four wonderful women that will be talking to us on gender, climate change. These lovely ladies will be sharing with us the work that they do in this area, and also we will be looking at how the theme of International Women's Day 2023 is implemented through the various work of these ladies. So the theme is digital innovation and technology for gender equality. So warm Bulavinaka ladies, and we have with us here this morning from the Fiji Ministry of Agriculture, Aradna Dish. Welcome, Aradna. From the Kiwa Initiative, based with SPREP, we have Mathilde Kraft, Bulavinaka Mathilde. From Triple GI, we have Esther Bates. Warm welcome, Esther. And from the SPC, Sustainable Forest and Landscape Management pillar from the Land Resources Division, we have Moana Masao. Thank you so much, ladies. Looking forward to having a chat with you on the topics that we just talked about. So before we go into the Talanoa, I would like to invite Ambassador Beate Greski to give us some opening remarks. Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
Thank you for having me in your Talanoa to celebrate International Women's Day. In my position as Germany's Special Envoy for the Pacific Island States, I have experienced the crucial role that women can play in climate change policy. Women are agents of change in their communities, in their governments, and across the region. Germany shares this ambition, and just a few days ago, German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock launched the first ever feminist foreign policy concept. And this will also be accomplished by a first development feminist policy plan. It's not only about being gender sensitive, but also making progress towards addressing the often unseen causes of gender discrimination throughout society. And I'm also glad to see that the German Gesellschaft for Internationale Zusammenarbeit, GSZ, works to realize this ambition too, with gender as a key component in all their projects. We are living in really challenging times, but challenging times also bring opportunities, and especially for women in the Pacific region, with the vastly dispersed islands and the logistical difficulties. New technologies as online banking, remote sensing can bring enormous benefits, especially for women. I'm confident that today's Talanoa will bring you new insights and inspiration on the nexus between climate change, digitalization, and women. So let me congratulate you once again on this important Women's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Greski, for those very encouraging words to us this morning. And now we'll go straight into knowing more about these beautiful women that we have with us. So Aradna, do tell us a little about yourself and the work that you do.
Bulavinaka, Christine, and to my fellow panelists here, and to the viewers out there. My name is Aradna Dish. I'm a research officer with the Crop Research Division of Ministry of Agriculture, based at Koronivia Research Station. My work mainly involves research on pest and disease and finding out best package of practices that is then disseminated to our farmers through our extension officers, and sometimes we also go out and do trainings for them. For now, I'm also involved in some gender work in Ministry of Agriculture, which I'm very much delighted to share on this platform. Currently, I am on study leave under the Pacific Agriculture Scholarship and Support Program with the component of climate resilience, where I'm doing my PhD studies at the University of the South Pacific. And this scholarship program is funded by the Australian Centre for International Agriculture Research. So that's a brief introduction about me. Thank you so much for having me today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Aradhna. I mean, it's really pleasing to note that even with your academic background, you are still very strongly rooted with work in the field. So, yeah, wonderful to have you. And then we now have Mathilde. Please tell us a bit about yourself.
Perfect. Vulavinaca, warm greetings from the Regional Environment Program, SPRIP. My name is Mathilde Kraft. I'm French. Really fortunate to be a regular guest of the region for several years now, and to several members. Keyword Technical Project Coordinator at SPRIP. So working for this, so the Keyword initiative is a multi-donor partnership implemented by the French Development Agency, the AFD, aiming at easier access to responsive, socially inclusive, and rights-based nature-based solutions for climate change adaptation. And my role in this initiative is to provide, in close partnership with the civic community, assistance to QA beneficiaries for the development and implementation of QA regional projects, as well as the capacity building opportunities for the implementation of nature-based solutions for climate change adaptation in the region. And just briefly, so nature-based solutions or any actions that protect, restore, or sustainably manage our ecosystems for ecosystems resilience and benefits of the communities that depend on them. And I'm really, really excited to be here today representing the QA community, because we, our donors and collectively, we have this high ambition on really, safeguards and do no harm on gender equity and social inclusion, but really trying through our nature-based solutions projects to really have positive impact of being actually factors of potentially positive change on gender equity. So really excited to be part of this Talanoa and discuss your work and our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mathilde. We are also very excited to learn more about your work in nature-based solutions. I mean, something that we Pacific Islanders know is an integral part of our conservation, passed on from our ancestors. So really looking forward to seeing how this traditional knowledge has evolved into, something that is there to help tackle climate change and women's engagement in this area. So Esther, Triple GI, tell us more about yourself and where you work.
Shabula Vinaka, everybody, and thank you, Christine, and my fellow panelists. It's truly a privilege and an honor to be here today. So I've been based in Fiji and in the Pacific region for about 6 of the last 9 years. I still have a lot to learn, but I definitely have a passion for this region, and particularly for women. Women's empowerment is an area of passion for me generally. I'm here representing the Global Green Growth Institute. For those who may not be so familiar, we are an international organization, a fairly new one. We have about 45 member countries across the world, including at the moment 5 in the Pacific region. And of course, from our name, you can tell green growth and a transformation of the world economy into an inclusive and sustainable approach for ongoing development is our focus area. And of course, women equality and a just approach for all and leaving no one behind is integral to achieving that goal. Myself and in my the project that I have the privilege to lead as well is called the Pacific Green Entrepreneurs Network. It's a regional program in which we run incubator programs, accelerator programs, and other entrepreneurship ecosystem support activities for what we call green enterprises in the Pacific region. So the 6 countries that I work in are Fiji, Kiribati, Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, and I've forgotten one of them, Papua New Guinea. And we were really delighted to see a lot of women-led businesses and youth-led businesses who are really keen to look for opportunities to develop. So yeah, we have a strong focus on supporting women, and I think what we consider as green businesses is any impact-driven business, either women and men with business ideas to make a positive impact on the environment in some way or on their society. And it's really very inspiring to see the ideas that already are happening throughout the Pacific region. So I'll leave it there and look forward to sharing.
Thank you, Esther. Very interesting. I'm sure we'll have more questions for you as the Talanoa progresses, especially on, how your project has actually encouraged entrepreneurship thinking amongst women. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Moana. Yes, SPC Land Resources Division working on sustainable forest management and specifically on engineered wood products.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Christine, for having me here. Thank you. Wonderful to be here with the panelists as well. Buluvanak, everyone. My name is, as said, Moana, and I work at SPC as an engineered wood product technician. What does that mean? That means that I work with something called plywood. So this is like a coconut plywood I brought with me as a sample. So it starts out as a veneer product, and then it goes into a plywood. So just imagine ribbons of timber, and then you cut them into pieces, sizes, and then you glue them together. So that's really partial of my job. That was last time. Now it's more into looking into gender in forestry, and more specifically into the manufacturing side of things. And that's like an interest and something that we are trying to do more in forestry, because it has always been perceived more as a male-dominated industry. However, it has women have always been in the job, and women have been there, but probably not documented as much. And that's one passion of mine. And I'd like to thank LRD and Resources Division for actually, my boss, Chalesi Patimot, for nominating me to come and speak here.
Always smart to acknowledge your boss. Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies. So like what we have here is a group of women with very strong technical backgrounds, but also with this passion of inclusivity, drawing women in. And we're so privileged to have you in this Talanoa. And just from what you have mentioned, we can see a lot of connectivity in the work that you do. So we have Mathilde with nature-based solutions, using nature to serve you and having you serve nature. And then we have green entrepreneurship. This is actually also the foundation of green entrepreneurship, looking after our nature ecosystems. And then we have Moana engineered wood products. And I understand that you work with senile coconut trees. And I know this discussion that happened more than 10 years ago on using senile coconut trees as an alternative to cutting down forests. And senile coconut trees are non-productive trees. So this is how we sustainably manage our forests, by targeting these alternative timber sources. And a very good example is the Pacific Green Company, which is internationally renowned using senile coconut wood. So it can be very profitable as well. And then we come to Aradna, agriculture. We always say that agriculture is the main driver for deforestation, the main driver for, but you have a very robust strategy in place where climate resilient agriculture approaches, strategies are in place, sustainable land management are in place, and of course, you have your gender strategy. So let's start our talk on that now. Tell us a bit more on the agriculture gender plan that is in place, And is it actually being implemented, and how?
Okay, thank you for that question on the gender policy that ministry has put up. So it's already launched, and it's in the implementation phase at the moment. And I'm so happy that I had an opportunity to make contribution to it, and this was during the consultation phases when we had stakeholders coming, and we throw in our ideas to better it in a way that at the end of the day, the document should be there to serve its purpose in terms of having equal opportunities for both men and women, addressing their special needs that is required, and then not only limiting it to our stakeholders, but at the same time, the staffs within the ministry who will be helping in implementation of the document are also equipped with correct knowledge, skills, and abilities so that they are able to better deliver the service that is expected at that level. And to my understanding, this document actually covers also the digital platform where we are trying to connect that to the International Day of Women theme this year. So this is in this document we also have provision that the staff also get equipped with the latest digital tools that are available out there so that they are able to strengthen on their research and development and also extension services to better serve our stakeholders. And at the same time, we are also trying to bridge the gap where we trying to also introduce the digital technologies to our stakeholders so that they are also able to, communicate with us. With agriculture, as you know, we are quite widespread in rural, maritime, and places hard to reach. But with digital tools that are available, I think we are closing that gap where we are reaching out more to them with our services, with our work, that the research findings, so that we are able to reach out and provide solutions, and that will enhance in their agricultural production. That will basically not on firstly it will be there to serve as a food security for them, for the family level, and then national level, and also contribute to the export pathway where if that will also help in the nation in a bigger picture. So these are some things that the document is has a lot of things, but I'm trying to connect it to the theme of this year's International Day of Women and how it's a significant document that will make contribution at various levels.
So just thank you, Aradhna, for that. So do you think that these digital tools or platform that you just mentioned, do you think that women have good access to this? Do they know how to use these platforms?
I will take one example here. Recently, there was a alumni research support facility project that I undertook, and this was in time when COVID had a major impact in our country. So reaching out to them was not possible due to restrictions and isolations that were put in place. So from my study, I've found that it was through the digital platform that we were able to connect to them. And when we did the surveys on household, it was through mostly the mobile phones, through the digital platform that we were able to reach out to them.
So the voice of women
Yes,
were better.
Yes, and it was good to note that most of them have smartphones. They are quite well educated in terms of they know about the apps. They know like simple ones, for example, like for me to connect to them, I created small Viber groups, and that's where we used to exchange information in terms of say best practices of farming, or if they had pest and disease problems, then they all put it on the group, and that's how the information was exchanged, not only between me and them, but the other particular person, but within all those people who were in the group. So coming back to your question, and my response would be, through my findings, I have seen that women have good access to technology and they are making good use of it. Probably more of trainings and to introduce to them other aspects of what is available out there. For example, the other apps that are helpful, that will be helpful in the future.
Thank you, Aradhna. So just based on what you just mentioned, I'm going to jump straight to Esther, because there is a connection there, isn't there, with green entrepreneurship and green businesses with women. So share with us, enlighten us on your work in empowering women in this area of green entrepreneurship. And since Aradhna has talked about these digital platforms, what do you use?
Sure, yeah. Oh, thank you for that. And I was also making the link as well between our work. So thanks for the question. So far, the main activity we have been doing under our program is an incubator program, which is focused at supporting early stage businesses. They might just have a business idea, a green business idea, or they might have a very small business which is operating, but it's quite small. And what we do is we help to provide some business training and a bit of structure around their business idea to help them sort of grow and scale. So we are very intentionally trying to be, support women as well as youth as two groups in this region who we really want to see to have more equitable access to opportunities, especially in the private sector, to impact on climate change in their own way. So we've been quite successful in achieving quite a high interest from women, which is great to see. About 2/3 of the businesses we've been supporting over the past 2 years. I think it's been 90 businesses, 90 green enterprises across the 6 countries are women. And one thing that I've been, they go through a program with us which encompasses training program as well as mentoring and coaching at a local level, as well as some networking, connections to markets and to other people in their entrepreneurship space is really critical for any entrepreneur, but particularly for women, because often they're the ones who don't have as many connections. That's the sort of main framework of our program. And at the end of the program, once they complete the program, they're invited to take part in a business plan competition. And I'm really excited to share that to date, about 70% of the winners of that competition have been women. And so which goes to show that women have really embraced, I think there's, the opportunities that are presented to them. They've really embraced it, taken it on board, and really learnt and succeeded in developing very robust business plans and a video pitch. They have to present their business in a short pitch. So far we have we've been able to award 40 small grants of $5,000 each, and 70% of those have gone to women-led businesses in the region, which is exciting. So in terms of the platform, the technology, the link with that, so actually we kind of had no choice but to use technology to start with, because we started during COVID. And being a regional program and working in all these countries with COVID lockdowns, border closures, we had no choice but to put in some elements of using technology. I think there has been definitely some great benefits that have come from that. One thing I would agree with what you said, Aradhna. I think in a lot of places, and of course it depends on the different contexts and the different countries for us, but in general we have found that women can access, at least on their mobile, they have a number of them have not had too much of an issue accessing, simple, more straightforward and lower bandwidth applications like Zoom for training. So we have done, the majority of our training has been using a Zoom platform. We also have an online training. We use Moodle as our online process for submitting assignments and all that. basically everything has been virtual, even application processes and submission of their final competition documents has all been virtual. And we found that it has helped include people who would not be otherwise able to attend in person in some ways, particularly for women, because often training programs are focused on the capital city. And for particularly places like Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu, we've actually found quite a lot of our participants and women particularly have been able to join from quite remote provinces, which is great. And I think also being able to offer virtual training has meant that one of the challenges that let's just start by saying one of the challenges we see particularly for women entrepreneurs, apart from access to finance, is everyone will say access to finance is a challenge, and that definitely is. But also beyond that is balancing social, family and professional obligations. I think it's much more of an issue for women than other women entrepreneurs bring that up as a challenge much more frequently. And having an online platform gives them more flexibility to do that. I won't say it ever becomes easy, but it means that they can, we try to schedule trainings at a time that's more suitable, usually in the evenings. However, if they can't make it, that's recorded, they can do it in their own time, they can submit assignments and everything in their own time. And that's actually, we've been able to see that a lot of people have grabbed that opportunity and been able to run with it and complete the program through that. Of course, it's never an easy thing, but another thing I would also mention is because it has been virtual, we've been able to connect entrepreneurs from all the countries. And entrepreneurship can be quite a lonely experience. Yes. And you may not have people around you who understand your challenges, but connecting with people, I think particularly women find that, we like to talk to each other, we like to sort of feel we share challenges and struggles and successes. And I think that's been a good success as well.
Yeah. And from what Aradhana mentioned, simple thing is just a Viber group is effective.
Yes, we have used Viber in Fiji, and I think in other countries WhatsApp has been the preference. Yes. But yes, exactly, it's been very helpful to connect people.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So just very quickly, Esther, what are the main challenges to implementing a green business?
Yes, I think when we were doing our research and setting up and designing the program, we certainly the number one challenge was access to finance, which is I think across the board for any small business. So access to finance is always a major challenge. Not if being able to get the funds to get your idea off the ground when you may not have too much proof or track record behind you.
And does it cost more than just a normal business? A green business as opposed to a normal?
It can do. It doesn't have to, but it certainly can do. It depends on the business model. Some of the businesses do have very sort of technical ideas which require research and investment of time. Not all of them. Some are, there's quite a variety because we are basically open to businesses from any sector. So we have a lot of businesses in the agribusiness space, but also there are, in forestry, they're in tourism, they're in quite a variety. So it does depend, but access to finance across the board is a major obstacle. And I think
for a
also
lot of things.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, so that would be the main one, and I think, as mentioned, particularly for women, is balancing social obligations and household, roles, traditional roles for women in the region. Yeah.
Great. So I'll come back to you, Moana, regarding this green modeling because you are working in that space in forestry. But first, let us have a chat with Mathilde. So Mathilde, you've been very engaged with JEDC guidance in your work with Kiwa and at SPREP as well. Would you like to share with us how this work is going?
Thank you, Christine, and really interesting talk so far. Really taking notes for our projects. As mentioned, Kiwa aims to support the development of gender responsive, socially inclusive, and rights-based, nature-based solutions. But how do we do that, really? And for us, as SPREP, in our role as providing technical assistance, we really felt that we needed to strengthen our own muscles on the topic. So we're organizing for and natural resources management, and for most of our colleagues, our background is technical, is on environmental conservation, and really pressing and being transformative on gender equity and social inclusion. Still a bit new thinking. We have the high level commitment from our members on gender equity at international, regional, national levels. We have our own policy that's spread. We have the willingness, but really we didn't feel like we had the actual capacity to effectively support Kiwa beneficiaries on that journey towards gender equity and social inclusion. Which is why we requested to have this sort of guidance for us. We've been super fortunate to work with women experts from the region on those topics that have started to help us through developing a framework for us to better understand how our work and how human rights, for instance, and GESI issues fit into our work, and how we can contribute through nature-based solutions and environmental work in general to gender equity. So these are the two recommendations that now we have to take on board and see how best we can implement. And the next step for us is then to, provide that support on gender to Kiwa beneficiaries through technical assistance. And that's through capacity building activities, or through more targeted support to Kiwa regional projects, or really practitioners, people on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you, Mathilde, for sharing that. That's very interesting. And I think what is also really interesting is the women's role, Pacific women's role in nature-based solutions. So I know that, sometimes it's just like a form of tokenism. We have to have gender in plans, tick the box. But really, can you share with us from your Kiwa projects and your work in nature-based solutions, like what skill set or what set of information, what kind of traditional knowledge that women bring to the table in this regard? And how do you harness this information from women? Would you have any experience in this?
Yeah, sure. So the part of my role is to support the development of project proposals to the different Kiwa regional call for projects. And in doing so, I've been fortunate to work with women groups, particularly from Cook Islands, Niue, Tuvalu and Rambi, and as well as French Polynesia. And so unfortunately, the proposal was unsuccessful, but still, and I want to take this opportunity to thank again those women who really were super dedicated and, gave a lot of their precious time, as Esther mentioned. Women in the region are really time constrained with so many commitments, but still, it was great to see that these women groups, usually they're more day-to-day tasks as organizers, more to work on women and domestic violence, for instance, really more social work. But it was great to see how they knew and they were aware of climate change impacts, future climate change impacts, and what it meant for their islands, but also their communities, their families, and just their business as well. To link with Esther, a lot of them had revenues from handicrafts, within handicrafts, same pandanus for medicine, etc. So there was a real recognition of this really deep connection between healthy environments and thriving communities on their islands. So it was really great. I've learned a lot from these ladies, and I hope we can continue to support them in the future. But just as I guess best highlight for me is that in French Polynesia, one of the first conferences on climate organized by the local And I think that's quite telling of potential leadership role of women in nature-based solutions and on climate change.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mathilde. So following on from what you just mentioned, let's go to Moana on nature-based solutions, picking up from there. So you work in forestry, but more specifically, you are working on engineered wood products, so very technical component, processing component. So from the forest, from the tree to the product that you have, there's so much going on in between. So what's your experience with women's engagement in this whole chain? Yeah.
Thank you very much. So far, we've actually, that's a component of this. It's an ACR-funded project that's funded by the Australian Centre for International Agriculture Research. This project of ours, and gender is a huge component for them as well. Now they've also got a gender policy out, and so we had a component in the project proposal that had to look at social outcomes. And interestingly enough, we've done 2 surveys. One, it began 2 years ago. So we've done one gender survey for women in the communities, agricultural communities. And the one we did just recently was for women in ply mills and sawmills and women in the States. So basically, we would love to see, like what you're trying to say, what are women doing now? Sort of like a base study, or you could say that like you can stipulate, or you can like come up with stories, or you can think with your experience, oh yeah, women are probably doing this. But if you go to the place and you actually do a study, then you actually see what are the challenges that women face, what are the opportunities that they have for this type of work to be rolled out in their communities, or to be, for them to have a space in the mill. The thing was, the stuff that we found out in the communities was that nature-based, like resource management, natural resource management, it's actually, for us in the Pacific, it's a communal thing. It's a tribe thing, a clan. Matangali owns the land, Matangali owns the resource, right? We know that. And it's family-based. And so, but here in Fiji, because of our patriarchal sort of, structure, we have men who hold the decision-making when it comes to Matangali meeting. Although slowly, in some villages, they were saying that the women are now having a say in the Matangali, like the men are like bringing them into that space, which is fantastic. And what works for them is that the men do the heavier duty work, the more labor intensive work. And so in this case, for the engineered product, they would be the one harvesting the trees. And the women would do the lighter work, or, the selling of it, or helping their husbands out and all those things. And that's what works for the context of that space in itself. Because here in the Pacific, to be honest, forests are managed by families. Like the Matangali is a family. And every family is different. So you can't say that, women are not having a say, or it's all men or something. Because somehow during the interviews, we found out that the women have the power at the home. So at the home level, women have the power. So they have that power, and then they sort of tell their husbands what to do. And their husbands go in the Matangali meeting, bringing the ideas for the women in that space. So, but the thing is that we would love the opportunity for women to have sort of a say in any space that, that they wish to be in. That was because women have been in forestry, just not documented enough. And so we've tried to do that in this project.
Yes, so true. I mean, what we'd like to see more of is women having a place at the mat, rather than them secondhand information being relayed. Yes. But so let's talk about sustainability and resilience. How is this factored into your work, ensuring the sustainable harvesting,
Okay, thank you. Because the thing is, we're only targeting very old, like senile coconut trees. So they have to be over 60 years old. They have to have very less nut production. We don't want them to take away the ones that are, because you've been in the Pacific for a while, you'll know coconuts are very, very, very important. You even have coconut earrings. So, it's part of us, yeah? The coconut tree is something that we hold dear to us. But the thing is that the replanting of it is not as much as, like, say, for example, people are going to cover. Yangona is huge. So to compete with, say, a long-term tree crop like coconut, of course it gives, she would know, gives the coconut gives an average of 50 nuts per year. It's important for our meals, but the replanting strategies are not really there in place. So this was a way, just a way to tell them, okay, see, the old tree standing there, can sustainably utilize it, can take it out, remove it, and plant a new one.
Plant again.
Yeah.
For food security,
For food security
income,
for them as
etc.
well.
Yeah.
It even happened in one of the villages that we went to in Tavyun. The village chief said that in the interviews he had actually mentioned that, he remembered his grandfather or his father used to take him out and tell him that they had to plant at least three coconuts, like keep it going. But excuse me, but now he doesn't see that as much in his community setting. And he said this gender survey that we did actually, brought that memory back to him, and he said, oh yeah, coconuts are important. Like you get it, like it's now something that actually needs to be revitalized.
That's informed of developments in agriculture and climate change, climate resilient crops, climate approaches, because normally it's men who are, who are being informed of this.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for that question. Before I answer your question, can I just connect to what Moana just said a while ago in terms of how the roles are divided at family level? Because the study that I did with my home gardening project was mainly on the household level, and one of the things that we actually looked quite clearly was the roles at the household level. Say, for example, raising the seedlings, land preparation, planting, monitoring the plants in the garden, then harvesting, then decision on the produce, what to do, whether to sell it or to use it for home or share it with neighbor. And then if they sell, when the money is earned from it in terms of decision making. So it was quite well seen that the roles are quite specific. Mainly the men were involved in heavy work in terms of land preparation. Well, women will come in the space of raising the seedlings, helping in planting and monitoring. Harvesting was mainly done by both parties, and but my interest was more going on the decision making in terms of when money is involved. So women actually had a lot of powers in decision making as to what they do with the money, in terms of whether they utilize it to buy other food items for the household level, or they do the savings, or they invest in education or medical. So it was seen that in Fiji, women are given that opportunity at household level to make the decision. So I think that also matches with forestry. So I thought to bring this up because this was something at household level that probably we had not done before, and it was an important finding that will lead to more projects and things in future. And coming back to your question on how well informed are women about developments, and so for us in the crop research division, we do a lot of trainings out there for farmers. There's a new concept of plant health clinic also coming in the picture, whereby we are reaching out to farmers with so that we can diagnose and advise them on best management practices. So we have been conducting trainings for our agriculture officers, the locality officers, and at the same time also for the farmers. But it was said to note that when you invite farmers to the training venue, it was mainly the men who turned up. But from our understanding, we know that women are also directly involved at the farm level, and they're doing a lot of work. So that was something that we encountered. So we re-strategized our training programs, and we decided to take our trainings to the community level. Initially, these trainings or these meetings were happening at, say, common meeting place, the market.
Where they get invited.
Yes,
Okay.
or a community or hall or somewhere. But then we decided to take these services to the community level, so that way the women were encouraged to come and take part and learn on the information that the research team or extension team wanted to share with them. So and while we were there for the trainings, we used to talk to women. Normally they would come and they will sit at the back, and they will be not that active, and or they will be just there for a short time and then they will go. So we tried to understand what was the reason of low turnouts or not being so interactive in the session. So it was because I think that cultural aspects, where the man is mainly given chance in. So but over the years that we have been conducting trainings, and we have been reaching out to them in their spaces, so that we can get them in, we have seen good improvements where now women are very much taking part in these training programs, and they are actually sharing the problems or the improvements that they are making at the farm level, and directly talking to the locality officers and extension officers, and the advice that they get from the training programs, or knowledge and skills that they acquire from here, they are taking it back to there. So this is one area that ministry also needs to actually strengthen in terms of monitoring and evaluation, whether what we are training them, and if in terms of its impact out there. So in nutshell, I would say that yes, we can see improvements in this area, but I think we still need to strengthen, and I think having this policy in place now will actually complement.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christine, if I can just add on to this. We saw it too with our gender survey. One village we went to, and the lady said that, if you guys didn't specifically ask for women to come to this, we would still be doing our household chores and things like that. And so we were like, you guys don't, there's no trainings that happen? They say, no, there's trainings that happen, but there's only specific people that are chosen, and it's usually just mainly the men, because we have that social obligation and those social norms that we have to look after the house and in the house. So, and they actually enjoyed the gender survey, which was really
Yes.
having a time to have a say.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes. No, so true. I mean, just in terms of monitoring as well, you really need gender or sex disaggregated data. How many women, how many men? And I mean, we conducted a training once where we insisted that the men will serve the refreshments and the women will be in the training. And they did. They were happy to do it. Actually, like they say, like culture is dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah, and the women made tea, they served us, they cracked jokes while the women were actually in the training. So we really have to break down these barriers and not just say, no, it's tradition that women do this. No.
Yeah, interestingly, one of the villages we went to, I'm just giving my life experiences here. one of the villages we went to, it was more women empowerment. Like the village, it's so interesting. Each village is so uniquely different. Like you would think, it's just the same, but it's so different. Like even one village, it's the young men were serving us while we were having the focus groups.
Exactly.
The women.
Yeah.
And then when it's their turn, the women are, and it's like a more sort of an equal sort of partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
And I think what is important is everybody just visit each other. You know, other villages see that this is done in other villages because it's quite educational even. Yeah. So Mathilde, drawing on this conversation on climate resilience, so would you have any experience of how women have been engaged in strengthening resilience in terms of nature-based solution projects, in your Kiwa projects? Would you have any experience?
Thank you. Unfortunately, we're still in the early stages of Kiwa projects. So they're all going to start or just started. And for now, in the projects that we've received and Kiwa funding, it was quite clear that the sort of gender and women empowerment was a bit missing in most of them. So that's why we're going to do extra work on that later. And hopefully have also as Mona mentioned, the monitoring frameworks in place to ensure that what is happening for women is actually also documented and recorded. That's going to be part of our journey. So I know there are so many stories of women in resilience, but for our QR projects for now, it's the start.
Thank you, Mathilde, and we all wishing you the best of luck with your Kiwa projects, and hopefully we'll be meeting again sometime after your project have, I'm sure, very interesting and important lessons to share. So, Esther, in terms of climate resilience, how is this integrated into your green business plans, and how are women actually engaged in this?
Sure. So in the training that we run, we show them how to basically put a framework around the business ideas. So they already were finding there's a lot of women in the region, and not just women, men as well, and youth, with great, exciting and innovative ideas of how to address climate change.
Could you give an example of
a
business?
I will, I'll give you a couple in a minute. But I'd like to say, I think also when we say innovative, sometimes I think there was mention of traditions. I think you mentioned about traditions earlier, and I think sometimes to me innovation is actually bringing back some of those traditions from the past, traditional knowledge that has been maybe sort of put aside. And so I think some of these ideas have been really interesting to see. So what we do in the training, I'll just briefly touch on that and then go into a few examples, is we try to bring in a bit more, because often people see a problem. That an entrepreneur is often a person, they see a problem, they've faced their own problem, they want to make a difference, and so they've started a business to do something about it. And so they know a lot about that problem, but we sort of try to help them to understand more broadly the issues of climate change, and bring in the sustainable development goals, and sort of lay out the framework of sustainability in terms of, we call it the 3 pillars of people, planet and profit. And typical businesses, obviously they exist, they need to make a profit to be able to survive, and of course that's very important as well for green businesses, but we also need to make sure that people, communities, families, employees are appropriately looked after. And we need to, of course, take care of the planet, that our earth, our land, and sea. So we sort of try to bring this in that, and the discussion on that has been really, really very interesting. Going to your, a few examples. We have plenty of very inspirational women, women entrepreneurs starting small businesses, and to start a small business really takes a leap of faith. So I think anyone who is doing it, I really have a lot of respect for them. But because of the talk on in the focus on digital innovation, so a couple of examples I'll give are a bit more tailored towards that. So for example, we have one startup, I think she's still working on the idea with her team in Papua New Guinea, is a lovely lady called Rachel, who is running that's probably the most innovative one. And I'm sorry, I'm not a tech expert, but she and her team have seen this problem of related to forestry and, well, actually carbon sequestration. Papua New Guinea has a lot of forests and mangroves, and there's now, obviously globally there is more of an interest in carbon capture and carbon credits, and the Papua New Guinea government is starting to open up these and explore this as a potential, way to, for communities to benefit from not cutting down trees or mangroves in their area. But one issue she and her team has found was, there's a role for technology because in the communities, I guess there's often a perception that maybe the flow-on effects, somebody else will benefit from the money from the carbon trading schemes, and it won't flow down to the people who are actually looking after the trees or the mangroves. And so, of course, if you want them not to cut down for firewood or for other uses, you need to make it worth their while. So she's developing a blockchain technology system, I think it's called T4G Pay, which would help the funds go from, the funds coming in for carbon trading to actually get down to the individuals and the households and the community level. So I think that was a really interesting example.
Wow.
I don't think it's yet active, if I'm not wrong, but it's a very interesting example.
So she's developing the app?
Yes, I believe.
Oh.
Yes. And I think it'll take some time to do so.
Oh, excellent.
It's quite a dynamic area.
Yeah.
So that's one of the examples. There's also another example, a couple from, actually another one from Papua New Guinea I'd like to mention. There's a wonderful woman called Davina who is running an ecotourism business called Connect Local PNG. And I think, many businesses in the region, we need to sort of focus on, marketing through social media, bringing in your customers through either websites or social media, and that's still an area for a lot of improvement. And her business is in her community, in her province, to try to connect very, very grassroots ecotourism operators with tourists who would like to come and experience, the real PNG from national and international levels. So something like that is able to, filter down and bring economic benefits to community levels and to very, very grassroots levels to enable the communities to, I think in their case, it's an area that turtles often come to nest, and so to be able to preserve and look after those environments and make it worth their while, not to to benefit everybody in the society. So that's just another example, but there's plenty more. I don't want to talk too much. But
very inspiring women.
Absolutely. So I feel privileged to be able to talk on behalf of them, because I'm not the one with the ideas. There's already women out there who have wonderful ideas, and I feel like it's a privilege for programs such as mine to be able, for them to trust us and to be able to support them to grow and hopefully become the next big things. And
Thank you for supporting those women. That's really
And the thing is, like, I've been to a lot of remote island communities, and it's the women who's running these eco lodges, these B&B places, and it's really amazing, managing everything.
Actually, if you don't mind me just adding on, I think one thing we also found from research is women, as I mentioned, green businesses, we were saying they're purpose-driven businesses, so they're either community-focused or environmentally focused, often both. And it's actually women who are more likely, statistically speaking, to run this sort of business, to just naturally not just think of the dollars at the end of the day, but to think more holistically, which has been really interesting.
Leah, our conversation today just all ties well together, like nature-based solutions. We're talking about, how well we can work with nature, the information, the knowledge, traditional knowledge that is out there, how this can translate into green entrepreneurship, into businesses, working with that. And then with the work, Moana, that you are doing, how can that product that you're showing off to us today, how can that contribute to this whole entrepreneurship chain, because it is made sustainably. You can certify that, as a sustainable sourced product. Yeah, so it's all coming together. And then, of course, with the crop production, the food security component. Yeah. So, unfortunately, we have to be wrapping up soon, but the discussions has been so interesting. But before we wrap up, is there any burning issue you think you would like to share with us, just in terms of the work of women in the workspace you are in terms of how digital solutions is transforming women's engagement in your sector?
To wrap up and to enlighten in this area, I would like to say that sometimes the opportunities are there, but it's not given to the right person, right? But if, for example, the opportunity is given to a woman to do something, then she gets to prove herself, and she gets to actually know her hidden potentials and how she can make positive changes in various aspects of life, work, and other obligations. So I guess sometimes it comes from within, like we women we have created a space that we are so comfortable in there, and we do not want to take up challenges, or we do not want to explore into new areas. But I think we need to really think beyond our own shell and see that there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of support out there for women, and we have to do our part in order to grab those opportunities, because if we are well equipped with knowledge and through this digital platform, there are so many information out there. For example, there are apps created that has information on agricultural production, on management of pest and disease, on best farming practices. But if you do not know that knowledge, then it's of waste. So I think sometimes we have to do things from like from what we are doing normal day-to-day work, and try to see what other things are available out there and explore, and then make most of this opportunity, so that once you are well equipped with information, then you will be able to spread that around others who also need that support. So in my case would be being a researcher. So if I am well versed with research work and happenings around me, then I will be able to also encourage the other women in the research division and inspire them. Once we are able to find something new that is interesting and that will solve the problems of farmers or assist them in increasing their production, then that will lead to the stakeholder being assisted. Then they contribute at household level, national level, at the country level. So this is how it has to. But I think the start has to be done from us.
Yes.
Sometimes the way we keeping ourselves is we do not want to come out of our comfort zone. Why I'm saying this here is that I used to always undermine myself. But I think that once I got the opportunity and I took up that challenge, I tried to see the world around me. And that was through the Mary Williams Fellowship Program, where I got connected to the facilitators from University of New England, the women from Asia and Pacific. And I got to explore and understand how things work at different levels. And those things, I was able to bring positive changes in myself. And then being a positive female, person in research, I'm also inspiring the women who are also in the research division. So, so it boils down to you, I would say. So my burning issue here is that the information is out there on various digital platforms, the apps. Make most of it, learn things, and spread the gospel around, so that we can make Fiji Pacific and world a better place and excel in our own sector.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Aradna. Very, very important point that we first have to empower ourselves before we go out there. Yeah, the responsibility lies on your own shoulders to develop yourself and to share. Yes. Thank you. Moana, you're looking very thoughtful. I'm pretty sure some gold nuggets are gonna come out from your mouth right now.
No, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's a great awareness platform as well. I know there are some women who don't know about engineered wood products. Even when we went out to the communities, it was fun because my mom is from Thai level, so we went to Vanua level. So we have a Tau sort of relationship there. So I was saying, oh, only women from Thai level can do this. See, we can, it was a challenge. It was a challenge for them. They're like, no, we can do it too. But no, it was very interesting. And to be honest, women like the digital platform, I like the theme for this year. It has transformed forestry in a huge way. We actually do forest management now through drones and reforestation and all those things. So technology has really been embraced, even to do with timber, because that's my passion, my work. There's even I found this interesting when we went to Brisbane. They have an app or like a sort of a scanner, tree scanner. So you can scan a tree even before you cut it. And then you know that when you peel it, where the knots and where the defects would be. So instead of just, like putting it in and like having it roll out, you just go and scan a tree and then you'd know which one would, like if it's worth cutting. Yes, if it's worth cutting or no. So technology has really transformed the landscape.
So same experience as Aradna, just being exposed to all this.
That's it. And women are coming into this frontier as well. There are women, operating the lathe machines and the saw mills, ply mills. If you go to Australia, like we went to, and even here in Fiji, we have forest management. In our team, we have a climate smart thing where we use apps, GIS mapping, and all that stuff. So forestry landscape is, transformed. So women have the opportunity to come in now. The only thing is awareness platform. So having talks like this, letting women know, like what Aradna said, you can do it. Like, if it's your passion, if natural resource management is your passion, there's a space for you. And it's really your choice at the moment. And also just finding out what the challenges are for you to get there. And and if you have the passion, go for it. Exactly. I mean, we're living proof. She's got a lot of examples, but and you're also living proof. So
wonderful. Yes, Esther.
Sure. Well, I've really loved this conversation. I think there's so much synergies, or another buzzword, but I agree. I think that the takeaway that I had from my own learnings in my program, but also from what I'm hearing here, is there are wonderful women out there in Fiji, in the Pacific, and beyond, of course, as well, who are already doing great things and maybe just need to be aware of opportunities and feel confident enough to take that first step and take them. And often it may feel very risky and it may be hard to take that step. Maybe I think we tend to undermine, as was mentioned, ourselves. But actually, it is definitely worth believing in yourself and taking a step to make use of the opportunities out there. And I think then that means that when women do that, not only they as individuals, but the whole households, the communities benefit so much from it. And I think any climate resilience and the climate action we need as many women, strong women warriors from all different angles, different sectors, and different, whether it's private sector, if it's government, if it's from wherever, we need everyone to play a role. So I think the main thing is to encourage women that there's plenty of people out there who are already proving that it can be done, and we need everybody. So.
And also from our early discussions, we need to let women know that they are not alone. These digital platforms have formed support groups, safety nets. So take the plunge, but knowing that you have a group of women there, to support you. So Mathilde, your reflections on women, resilience, digital transformation.
I'm so humbled by the women in the room and hearing all these stories, and I obviously share your takeaways as well. This is really echoing a lot of what I've experienced in my very short experience as a young professional, but also my personal opinion and beliefs as well, I guess. Just for the easy part on digital, I think as a regional organization, it's really part of our role and one of our main goals to make sure that information is accessible to all and equally shared. So we have a lot of platforms that share climate change information, such as the Pacific Climate Change portal. We have information publicly available on environmental state of the environment through the Inform platform. And we have a public library that's quite impressive, actually, with a lot of resources, everything that's purposed on and everything that is publicly available in the region. So again, it's making those resources, raising awareness about those platforms, making sure that they're still relevant and good, and sharing stories, again, for cross inspiration. And my main takeaway from questions, and I think, so I don't want to put more responsibility on and burden on women. And we've discussed, and as we know, especially in the region, there are huge time constraints and resources, and but I think really from experience, if we want to reach gender equity in climate change action, then just let the women do the work and provide more funding and technical support to do that, because what we know is that they are already doing it. Anyway, they're already leaning in that space, and it's great now to see that there is so much more research conducted by women on the role of women in agriculture. Thank you, Radna, for sharing. And in forestry, thank you, Mona, for that. And in business, thank you, Esther, for sharing also as well. And I know there's lots of in fisheries, and this is all nature-based solutions. And this is all strengthening the evidence we need as well to then develop better projects and better action on the ground with the women involved, and adapted to just acknowledging the complexity of the issue, and that each village is different, and that all the dynamics are different, but just embracing that complexity and then working all together in partnership for increasing more opportunities for women to seize those opportunities in the region for climate change adaptation. So big takeaway.
Thank you, Mathilde. I think you've just done my job for me by wrapping up, because that kind of did sum up everything, the main points that have come out. So thank you so much, ladies. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences, for sharing your knowledge. I think it's been wonderful, and I hope that we can have more of these gatherings, bring in more women, because this is all part of the women empowerment that we're talking about. So thank you so much, everyone, for also joining us for this session. We hope that you have learned something from the various sectors that these very smart, intelligent women have shared with us today. And we would like you to leave you with a very short message that has come out from our talk, is that women can do it. And we have the digital tools now to help them, support them in this area, and we just need to ensure that they are aware of all this information that is out there. As Aradhana mentioned, the responsibility is with us to carry out this task. So thank you so much once again. Before we leave, So let us strike the embrace equity pose. Happy International Women's Day to everyone. On behalf of the group here, thank you so much. Vinaka Vakalevu and goodbye.